Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren, the film student extraordinaire, and today we're talking about something not crazy dark, I don't think, but it might seem dark to some of you, and that is mental illness and art, creativity, the idea of the tortured artist, the depressed artist, the insane artist. We're talking about that today.
I was kissing you with my eyes open, but you said keep them closed.
Now, I want to preface this by saying that I am not an expert in mental illness. I have a couple of them myself, but that does not make me an expert, even in the ones that I have. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to have any of these. I think that there is still a stigma around it, and that's intriguing to me. Additionally, I want to make this video because I consider myself to be an artist. I'm a filmmaker, and I have anxiety, depression, and potentially something else that is currently kind of being examined. And I just was like, because I feel like when I'm really depressed, I can't create squat, like zilcho, nothing. Kind of when I'm on the rise out of a funk, then I'm like, oh my god, the world is the world's my oyster, I can do anything. But when I'm actually in the rut, I can't do much. So it is something that I never felt like I was really the depressed artist. And I was like, where did this really come from? I mean, we can think of a couple, Van Gogh, that really cut off his own ear, Frida Kahlo, Charles Dickens, Edvard Munch, Tchaikovsky. I mean, tons of artists that we can think of, Sylvia Plath, all had, mental illnesses and created incredible pieces of work. But would they have created those incredible pieces if they were not mentally ill? That's what we're going to explore in this video. Now, researchers have tried to explore this link. I have linked 2 studies down below that I took a look at. You may need to pay for some of them because as a student I get access to certain journals, but the abstract is there, so you can at least read that if you don't have access to the journals themselves. And then additionally the main article that I found all this information on that led me to those other studies, all linked down below. So those researchers have, tried to do some studies, and basically it's inconclusive. But that doesn't mean this is the end of the video, because there's some interesting facets and nuances to the inclusivity. Some artists are more likely to be mentally ill than others. Like writers, apparently, are more likely to be mentally ill. Isn't that interesting? I don't know if I consider myself to be a writer. Probably not. I do write for my scripts, but I'm not like a writer like Sylvia Plath. Additionally, Christa Taylor of SUNY Albany found that those with PDD, persistent depressive disorder, are less likely to be creative than those with MDD, which is major depressive disorder. So in a sense there, we do have the depressed artist in this sense, but not if you're only somewhat depressed. You have to be majorly depressed to be more creative, which I think is weird, but cool, sort of. One thing that the article noted that I thought was very interesting was that potentially artists just have these depressed symptoms because of hectic lifestyles, a lot of pressure with deadlines and hustling for another gig. And I can sort of see that because, there's, even with my small school projects, if I don't know what's going on, it's like, oh my gosh, this is kind of intense, what's going on, what's going to happen. But even before I feel like I had these kind of crazy projects, I still feel like I dealt with depression sometimes, so I don't really know how I feel about that. Something I also found, now when I say funny, I don't really mean haha funny. I mean oh, that's interesting, it's unique, it's something. I just say funny, okay? So something I found funny was that from a study in 2013, apparently the brain, when it is engaged in a creative process, may also be resembling the brain in a psychiatric disorder. Isn't that wild? So you might be in the flow state, which is when you're doing a lot of creative work, and for me, I feel I experience the flow state when I'm writing sometimes my scripts, obviously when I'm on set, and then when I'm painting, I definitely can feel time just goes away and I'm in the zone. And I think that's interesting that it could be along the same kind of path and the neurons firing as if I was in a psychiatric condition. I'm now going to read off a quote from Taylor again, and I want to read it off instead of paraphrasing because I don't want to mess it up. A number of symptoms of hypomanic episodes are also characteristic of intense creative activity, i.e. ideational fluency and reduced need for food and sleep, and may resemble characteristics of flow. Intense and focused concentration, distorted sense of time, etc., which frequently occurs in individuals engaged in creative projects. So that's kind of going along with a official statement versus like my little, yeah, when I'm painting, like time just goes away from me. Yeah, I just felt like sharing that quote. Something that I think is worth mentioning is that regardless of whether or not mental illnesses or psychiatric disorders lead to enhanced creativity, what is known is that being creative can be a wonderful outlet for those with mental illnesses and psychiatric disorders to cope, to heal, and to just kind of let things out, let their emotions flow in a new way. And I think that is the most important part. It doesn't matter if you don't have a mental illness, like you can still be a great artist. Obviously, the point is, in my opinion, that art is a way to explain and express yourself, whether or not you have a disorder. But if you do have a disorder, art is a great way to express yourself. I know that for most of my projects, they all deal with some kind of dark point from my life. They vary in types of darkness, and they are very much exaggerated or blown out of proportion for the script. And as one of my professors used to say, a great story starts with a grain of truth, or a kernel of truth. He kind of flip-flopped. And I like that because it's like you have this idea, this little spark, this tiny little seed, and it blossoms into something different and that I can explore and kind of get through maybe a painful memory or an experience of mine. But on like a much lower scale, even when I'm just really stressed, I love coloring. Like what? I'm 21, almost 22, and I love coloring to make myself feel better. Because art is amazing like that. And sometimes you want to work with your hands and you want to work with clay or collaging or something. And that's the power of art and the power of creativity. So why are so many artists mentally ill? I think it just looks that way. There are lots of mentally ill people who are not artists and lots of artists who are not mentally ill. Anywho, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you do to cope. Whether or not you have a disorder, if you just when you get stressed, what do you do? Do you do any kind of art? And of course, don't forget to subscribe because we are approaching 1,000 subscribers. And I will see you next time. Bye.